Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup on a day where we've got some quite significant news. Tottenham looks set to make a bid of up to £60 million for Leeds winger Raphinha. We're also prepared to lodge a bid for Richarlison, and Ajax have finally, after the sale of Sebastian Haller, agreed a deal to sign Steven Bergwijn from Tottenham this summer. We're going to look at what it means in terms of potential incomings. We're going to compare the two wingers that Tottenham are set to bid for. We're also going to look at some other potential outgoings with Emerson Royal, Lucas Moura and Harry Winks also in the rumour mill today. Before we do get into that, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you get these updates throughout all of Tottenham's transfer window in one that is set to be very, very busy. Welcome a few people to the chat. We got Zoe, channel member, good to see you. Holly, great to see you tuning in as well. We've also Simon, who'll be disappointed that my picture behind me still isn't up on the wall. But look, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out soon. But look, let's dive straight into it. Let's first of all talk about this man, Raphinha. Gianluigi Longari reported last night that Tottenham were set to make a bid of £50 million for Raphinha, with add-ons bringing it up to £60 million. Now, I had a few people ask me about that last night, and on Gianluigi Longari, he definitely has some good info. He was one of the very few talking about Barcelona's interest in Cuti Romero last summer, and eventually we found out that was to be the case. Was it Lionel Messi or? We know for a fact anyway that Messi was trying to get Barcelona to sign Romero, and Longari was one of the few saying that, but he's also said things quite a bit that wasn't true. So I was taking this with a massive pinch of salt, but he said that Tottenham are ready to submit this offer, and given the news that has come in the 24 hours since, I think it's safe to say that that news was true, and that the information Longari had at that point was 100% spot on. Now, he also did say that Raphinha prefers a move to Barcelona and has not yet decided whether he would choose a move to Tottenham or Arsenal if those are his two options. And I think we've known all along our biggest obstacle in a potential move for Raphinha is the interest of Barcelona. We'll talk about the latest on them in a minute with the update from Fabrizio Romano, but we're kind of hoping that their financial troubles will rule them out of a move for Raphinha, which will then open the door for one of the three London clubs to make that signing, and of course we're hoping it'll be us. Paul O'Keefe has said that Tottenham are prepared to bid for both Raphinha and Richarlison, but will only sign one. Spurs are assessing their options. So it's well documented how Fabio Paratici likes to work. He'll negotiate for 5, 6, 7, 8 different players, 7 or 8 different players to see there's our potential update now. We'll have a look in a sec. Negotiate for 7 or 8 different players so we can partly to create maybe some smoke screens within the media, so the attention is all on player 1, 2 and 3, but we end up going out and signing player 4, or it's simply a way of figuring out which the best deal is. So if we go and we offer 60 million for Raphinha, 50 million for Richarlison, bit of negotiating, depending then on what Paratici deems the better deal, that's one that we would then pursue. So that is why Tottenham will be making bids for both, although it's incredibly unlikely, I'd say almost impossible, that Tottenham will get the two of them, because they're two very similar players. There'll be two very big deals as well, potentially 50 to 60 million pounds for both of them, and for such similar players it's just not really realistic or intelligent to pursue getting both of them, but Tottenham are expected to, or are prepared to bid for both of them. Fabrizio Romano said that Tottenham have told Leeds that they want to make a bid for Raphinha. Leeds have informed Tottenham that Raphinha will cost at least £65 million following new direct talks with Leeds United. So Romano confirming there has been more contact between Tottenham and Leeds today in these negotiations, in the early talks in this one, but Tottenham have told Leeds that they are ready to lodge a bid. Now, the latest on the other teams within this one, Arsenal made a bid last night for Raphinha. Fabrizio Romano said that proposal was not enough for Leeds. David Ornstein and Phil Hay have also said that Leeds United have rejected Arsenal's first offer for winger Raphinha. Those three are very reliable sources, so I think we can rule out that first bid from Arsenal being in any way successful. And there have been some reports to suggest that it was between 30 and 35 million pounds. If that's the case, I saw a Leeds fan put it on Twitter that Arsenal shouldn't bother with the second bid, because look, that first bid is going to be a bit of a low ball, but there's a moment where it gets insulting, and I think a 35 million pound bid for Rafinha is insulting. I think Barcelona's bid was somewhere around that as well. On Barcelona, Fabrizio Romano said that they've had personal terms agreed for months with Rafinha, but Leeds will never accept 40 or 45 million euro, which is in and around that 35 million pound option or position. And Romano also said that Todd Bowley, the new Chelsea owner, has explored that situation for his new club. David Ornstein on Tottenham's interest has said that we are considering Raphinha, but he is not a first choice option. And the key line from Ornstein is that Raphinha would prefer a move to Barcelona or Chelsea. And I saw someone pointed out on Twitter earlier today that Raphinha's agent is Deco, who of course played with Barcelona and played with Chelsea as well. So I'm sure there's ties there between Deco and the two clubs, but also he'll be very keen to get Raphinha into a club, one of the two clubs where he had a very good time in his playing career. So we may be in a bit of a kind of struggle in this one. I saw someone mention in the chat that Tim Vickery said that if Raphinha can't go to Barcelona, he'll remain at Leeds, that he only wants that move to Barcelona. And look, Barcelona, their financial situation seems to change every month, but that is a bad sign. That like 1 month they're in a really good position, the next month they're in a really poor position, and they're trying to figure out what they can actually do in this window. Rafinha just might not be an option for them, like other players that they're trying to sign. With the amount of money they have, it might not be possible to get those big signings in. But if Rafinha does have his heart set on Barcelona, I think I said this a couple of days ago, he would probably stay at Leeds for another season. They're still in the Premier League. It's not like he's going down to the Championship. He'll stay at Leeds for the extra season and then hope he can get that move to Barcelona in a year's time. Because if he does want to make that move to Barcelona next year, it's not going to happen if he plays for Tottenham, Chelsea or Arsenal. Because first of all, he'd have a very lengthy contract, and second of all, one of the London sides probably won't be willing to sell him that early into his time at the club. Now, Paul Brown finally has said, I was on Richarlison, we'll get that in a sec. I'm going to compare a few bits on Raphinha and Richarlison, but before we do get to that, I just want to bring, again, just remind you that Paul O'Keefe said that Tottenham are prepared to bid for both of them. Paul Brown has also said that Tottenham's interest in Richarlison has been exaggerated. The Brazilian forwards people are, quote, trying hard to move him. So they want him out of Everton, which I don't really think is much of a surprise. But our interest has been exaggerated. Like I said, that first report from Bruno Andrade, who was a tier 1 source, is a very good source, just seemed to have jumped the gun. And everything we've heard since has been kind of slamming on the brakes on that deal. But there's no doubt that Tottenham are interested in both of these players and would be happy to sign both of these players. And just take a quick look at some of their stats. So we have Richarlison there on the left-hand side, Raphinha on the right-hand side, as they do sometimes line up for their teams. This is in the Premier League last season. Compared to players in the same position over the last 365 days in Europe's top 5 leagues, courtesy of FBref.com. Goals, Richarlison, slightly more, 0.02 more per 90 than Raphinha, but in their certain positions, Raphinha definitely ranks higher amongst right wingers around Europe. On assists, it's very heavily in Richarlison's favour. He has twice as many assists as Raphinha per 90, getting one on average every 5 games. With shot creating actions, it's the Leeds winger who's ahead on that with 3.67 per 90 compared to Richarlison's 2.21. It's also similar for key passes, where Raphinha is just over 2 and Richarlison is just under 1. With dribbles completed, Raphinha has quite a few more, but he's a significantly lower dribble success rate. So Richarlison definitely more effective when he gets on the ball, but just not as often. And in pressures, Richarlison also has the edge at about 3.3 more per 90 than Raphinha. Now, those stats, looking at them as they are, it's quite easy to make a judgment on that, but you need to look at how these teams play, how heavily involved these players are in what their team does. With Raphinha, on the dribble side of things, I'd look at the fact that later in the season under Jesse Marsch, he played as a right wing back in a couple of games, and I think it was a bit more narrow in front of him, so he had a lot of the field ahead of him, and whenever he got on that ball, he had to drive forward. So maybe that's why his success rate is a little bit lower than Richarlison's. With the pressures per 90, Richarlison's ranks really, really high in the 92nd percentile, so top 8% of players in that position across Europe last season. And that's what Tottenham want. We need that high press. We need players who are willing to chase after the ball time and time and time again. Over 21 pressures per 90 for Richarlison. But look, that's just a kind of brief overview on what they might potentially bring in. But there's no doubt they're both very good footballers. I think George Bannister put it perfectly on Twitter a while ago that it's easy to get blinded by the quality that Raphinha has and the quality that he would bring into this team. And it certainly is the case that he is a better player than Richarlison, in my opinion. But Richarlison would just fit better in what Tottenham are trying to do and fit better in the type of player that Antonio Conte seemingly wants to bring into the football club. Because we need someone who can be versatile across that front line. And Richarlison can play on the left, can play on the right. He can play as a number 9 as well. Very different style of striker to Harry Kane. But if we need to change things up a little bit, if we want Kane to drop deeper, Richarlison can be that man that's furthest forward. Whereas Raphinha, he just seems very one-dimensional. He'll play out on that right-hand side. And I don't know if it's very sensible to bring in a player for £60 million who really can only challenge one player in that team, when we need someone who can challenge every player. We need someone who can give Kane a rest when we're playing, a useless team like Bournemouth, or we need Son to get a rest when we're playing in the Cup against a lower league team. So we need more options with fewer players, if that makes sense, because we're not going to be able to afford to bring in a right winger and a striker who are at that level that we need to rotate with those front players we already have. Who are, we're not going to get someone pushing the Kane and Son level, but we need someone who's as close to that as possible, and we're definitely not going to get two of them. So I think Richarlison is the better option for that reason. But again, in terms of ability, I do think Raphinha has the edge, but I'm just not quite sure that's exactly what Tottenham need right now. But look, the fact of the matter is we do need an attacker. We do need a forward, because Steven Bergwijn looks set to leave Tottenham in the next week or two, as Ajax, according to Charlie Eccleshare, have agreed a deal to sign him. He said the final details of a transfer for Steven Bergwijn are being sorted between Ajax and Spurs for a fee of £21.5 million. That's in and around €25 million. Eccleshare said that Spurs are hoping to bring in another striker before the Dutch international departs on or after July 1st. So Charlie Eccleshare saying that Tottenham are hoping to bring in another striker, another forward, before the 1st of July. Today we're on the 22nd of June. So in the next 7 to 10 days, Tottenham are hoping to have a new forward, a new striker, holding up the Spurs jersey. And again, look, it could be either of the Brazilians we've already mentioned. It could be either of the two Brazilians we haven't mentioned in Gabriel Jesus and Anthony. But the simple case is we're going to try and get something done there. Mike Bergwijn, who, as I've said all along, since January is the number one source on this deal. He has said that Ajax will now look to finally get a deal with Spurs over the line to sign Steven Bergwijn after receiving a good fee for Sebastian Haller. So Haller is on the way to Borussia Dortmund to replace Erling Haaland, and Ajax within that deal will get €33 million. Let's not forget they've also received a very high fee from Bayern Munich for Ryan Gravenberch in this window. Bergwijn said that Steven Bergwijn to Ajax is now almost guaranteed following the sale of Sebastian Haller. He's also pointed out that Ajax will break their transfer record to sign Bergwijn, eclipsing the £22.5 million fee they paid for Sebastian Haller. Sky Sports, kind of contradicting what we're hearing from the other sources, they've said that Ajax will make another offer for Steven Bergwijn, but Tottenham will not consider any offer below £25 million. It looks as though we'd agreed one for 21.5. I assume there's going to be add-ons in that. There's going to be bonuses, whether they're performance-based on an individual level for Bergwijn, or on how good Ajax do next season. But I don't think the fee is going to stop at £21.5 million. Apologies, I'm a bit sick with hay fever today, but look, we move. Evening Standard have said that Tottenham will demand over £20 million for Steven Bergwijn from Ajax following their sale of Sebastian Haller, and Football Insider say that Ajax are now in advanced talks with Tottenham to sign Steven Bergwijn following the sale of Haller. Spurs had refused to lower their price tag of £26 million, but a breakthrough in talks is now close. Russ Vernon says breaking, Everton are interested in signing Tottenham midfielder Harry Winks, and that is according to Sky Sports. According to Michael Bridge, a good friend of the channel, and we were going to talk about Winks in a couple of minutes, but we might as well move on to it now. So Michael Bridge has said Everton are keen on signing Harry Winks and have held initial talks with Tottenham. The midfielder is expected to leave as he is not in Antonio Conte's plans. Thank you, Russ, for bringing that to us. It's the second story on that we've gotten today, because Liverpool Echo reported a while ago that Everton are in early negotiations with Tottenham for Harry Winks. There's hope from Tottenham, Everton and Winks himself that a deal can be reached this summer after early talks. However, at least 4 Premier League clubs are interested in the midfielder. Tom Barkley also said that Everton are in talks with a deal over Harry Winks. And look, Tottenham want £20 million for Winks. I'm not sure we're going to get that. I think it could be, let's accept between 12 and 15 and then get add-ons, hopefully, rising to 20 million. It could be based on how many appearances he makes, like that deal with Dele Alli when he moved to Everton. But Harry Winks does look to finally be on his way out of Tottenham, and Holly is even saying bye-bye Winksy, which, as I always say, is perfect proof that you need that it is time for Harry Winks to move on. On to Lucas Moura, and as we've been saying, I kind of expect him to see out his contract at Tottenham, and he has said, really, that is the case. Via Sport Witness, Lucas Moura said, the idea is to fulfill the contract. It has one more year with the option of one more on the part of the club. So at the end of this season now, if the club wants to extend another year, they have that option. David says, buy Winks, thanks for nothing. Stephen making a good point. We could throw in Winks for Richarlison. But look, Lucas Moura, there is 1 year left in the contract. So his current contract expiring at the end of next season. So in the summer of 2023, he is saying that Tottenham have the option to extend that to 2024. I don't really see that happening, to be honest. Going on further in Luke's quotes, he said, but my idea is this: finalising the contract and seeing it out. Playing in the Champions League. We haven't played the Champions League for 2 years, and now it could be perhaps my last Champions League there at Tottenham. So then the idea is to stay there, fulfill the contract, then be free, then decide where I'm going. With regards to a potential loan back to Sao Paulo, he said that would be a very big possibility, very strong, but I find it difficult. I find the loan issue difficult because, as I said, in a year I will be free. So it wouldn't make sense for them to loan me so I could go free, you know? Knowing also that they can count on me in a Champions League year is important to him. I don't know, so it will depend on Tottenham. Now it's much more up to Tottenham than to me, but I find the possibility of a loan difficult. So those quotes directly from Lucas Moura. And our final news on potential outgoings, Emerson Royale's father and agent Emerson Zulu has said that the player is very happy at Tottenham and living in a good moment in his career, which will improve even more. Some lesser or unknown reliability reports caught offside say that Manchester United are close to Tottenham or signing Tottenham left-back Jayden Magoma. Recruitment sources at Manchester United have described him as one of the best in his age bracket in the left-back position across Europe. The Express said that Tottenham have now been alerted to the availability of Atletico Madrid striker João Felix. Simeone is willing to cash in, and Spurs could explore the possibility of using Giovanni Lo Celso as a make-weight. And Calcio Mercato say that Juventus are interested in offering Frankfurt a £32.6 million double deal for Spurs-linked duo Phil Kostic and Evan Ndika. So quite a bit of news to get through today. But the one to remember, the key bit to take, is that Tottenham are expected to make a £60 million bid for Raphinha. Like I always say, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell to be kept right up to date with Tottenham's transfer business throughout the rest of the summer. But for me, for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.